Passengers, directed by Morten and starring Jennifer Lawrence and Chris Pratt. I've always thought there are two different kinds of people when watching a film. For the first group, films can sometimes stretch farther than the realism itself, and that is sometimes an aspect which this group do not enjoy. There must be a certain amount of sense going into a film for how a scenario can play out. These are the analyzers, the Inspector Clouseaus of the film world, which is allowed, as us the audience want an escape when watching a film, and if they can't place themselves doing the exact same as the characters, it's then no longer believable. The second group of people are those who leave their brain at the door, who don't want to overanalyze a film, enjoy a story for what it is, and follow those certain characters until the end. If the story has an enjoyable, thrilling, dramatic, romantic, comedic, or terrifying story throughout, you'll have a happy cinema goer talking about your film all week long and remember it for the Blu-ray and DVD release. If none of these two groups see what they are looking for, then most likely the film will not succeed. So from here I lead on to my review of Passengers. This is a film I would say is for the adventurers, but for those Inspector Clouseaus among us, hold back your magnifying glass, as you may find something which you did not expect. I never saw Passengers at the cinema. The reason for this is that it's taken me some time to actually like the actress Jennifer Lawrence. I don't know what it is about her that I didn't like before, but it just lingered there in my mind and put me off from watching any film with her in. Well, I can now say that she is a very good actor, and believable, especially in Passengers. I've only recently seen up to Hunger Games: Catching Fire, the second film, and I've seen her in the recent X-Men films, and all of them so far haven't given me anything special from her performances. The acting from her in this film is quite special. Just the emergence of her shock and horror of realizing that she has woken up many years before she should reach her destination with no way of getting back to sleep, stuck on board a moving ark of humans and animals to populate another planet. There is another shocking moment from her character which I won't explain as it will ruin an aspect for those who have not yet seen the film, but she shows great emotional pain in her realization, and you can honestly place yourself in her fate. It's horrifyingly superb. Passengers really makes sure you think the questions the two main characters are asking themselves. What would you do if you're stranded on a ship for 90 years before you are supposed to arrive? How would you handle the loneliness? How long can you cope without the need of human contact? Plus, not to forget one other questionable act. There is a scene with Chris Pratt where he forces himself into a terrible situation, and I myself was even shouting at the screen, "Don't do it! He's going to do it! Don't do it!" But obviously you know he will. The film right there is memorable for placing you in Chris Pratt's shoes, as it's about being human. It's that this film got me hooked, and I realized, wow, I really misjudged this film. To be honest, I can sometimes be one of those that judge a book by its cover, and with Passengers, I did when the first trailer came out. The first trailer for me didn't do anything special. It seemed targeted towards a more younger audience, but for when watching the film, it matured over time. It was thoughtful, energetic, thrilling, dramatic, and romantically cheesy. And, well, who doesn't appreciate a bit of cheese? Chris Pratt, who plays Jim Preston, is actually refreshing to see. When going to see a film that stars Chris Pratt, I go in expecting a typical hero with good witty timing, knowing you'll have a fun time. With Passengers, you do get this, but you'll also see another side which I haven't seen before from Chris Pratt. Jim Preston becomes very emotional, confused, lonely, and drifting towards the edge of his sanity. It was a great process to watch as you see the effect of being alone and what it does to you. First is that great childish moment. You have everything to yourself and you can do whatever you want and eat what you want. Chris Pratt is very comfortable in this situation. He can have a ton of fun and make us really laugh. Where he really succeeds though is later on, though I do feel in this film Jennifer Lawrence, who plays Aurora Lane, does steal the spotlight as her character is a lot more developed and we learn a lot about her. There is good reason for this, and it doesn't shed any success of Chris Pratt as the two of them have great chemistry on screen and enough screen time featuring the both of them. I will now though bring out the magnifying glass, as I did identify a few issues. I felt that if you are drifting towards a new homeworld with human beings in cryogenic sleep, you'd at least create a ship that would be able to detect an asteroid field and fly around it, instead of flying through it. but because of this scenario, the story was able to begin. Sadly for me, the soundtrack was almost forgettable. When listening to the soundtrack on its own, I couldn't even recognize the tracks being played. That is something I don't like within a film. If you've created a soundtrack, use it. Apart from a good couple moments from the soundtrack, the missing elements did not take away from the film. The first spacewalk scene was beautiful, and linked well with the soundtrack, which made focus for Chris Pratt's character just floating, staring out into space as if he could touch each star, but also noting how alone his character really was. Director Morten did a great job in creating a wondrous cinematic experience. He seems to be a new director. I have only seen his previous film Imitation Game. I hope he continues to direct more memorable films such as this. Overall, Passengers is a memorable time. I keep saying memorable as I kept thinking to myself about all the different scenarios that could have happened and what may have happened if certain events didn't occur. I also wondered about the end. I know there was no reason to see more, but I just really wanted to see more. For my reviews, I'll be using a 5-star rating system, and to explain what each star means: 1 star, unbearable, look for your nearest bin. 2 stars, rentable, could be a good time but forgettable. 3 stars, entertaining, worthy as part of your DVD collection. 4 stars, memorable, you'll be thinking about it for days, wanting to rewatch it. 5 stars, unmissable, an amazing cinematic experience that you will remember for the rest of your life. As you may have guessed it, I have rated Passengers a deserving 4 stars, a very memorable, thrilling adventure. Stay tuned for my next review, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. If you enjoyed the review, please like and subscribe. This is Peter Wilson, my review of Passengers.